Yes, good afternoon people. Another quick video. Today I'm going to talk about the Conservative former minister, Sir Allan Duncan, who is being investigated by his party after he said pro-Israel extremists within the party, including some ministers and peers, should be expelled because they refuse to support international law. I would also like to address the response of the Western governments and media outlets to the recent Israeli drone strike, which resulted in the tragic death of 7 humanitarian aid workers. Before I get into it, share, comment, like and subscribe. Former Conservative MP Sir Allan Duncan has been accused of all but blaming Israel for the October 7th Hamas attacks, which killed over 1,000 people. Let's go over some of the comments that were made to see if they warrant the accusation made against him. Sir Allan Duncan, a former government minister, was interviewed by Nick Ferrari on LBC. He stated that the problem in Gaza didn't start on the 7th of the 10th, 23. He added, "I condemn the nature of the Hamas attacks. I condemn antisemitism. I condemn those who say that Israel should not exist. But I equally condemn Israeli access and illegal expansion into the West Bank by taking another country's land." He also called for the UK to suspend arms sales to Israel. He said, "The Hamas attack was a response to years of difficulty in Gaza, but more importantly, the continuing annexation illegally by Israel of the West Bank." In his LBC interview, Duncan, 67, said that any support for Israel's current tactics in Gaza was morally unacceptable. It's what Israel has been doing for years, because the Israeli Defense Force does not follow international law. It has been backing and supporting illegal settlers in the West Bank who steal Palestinian land, and it is the land theft, that annexation of Palestine, which is the origin of the problem, which has given rise to Hamas atrocities and the battles we're seeing. Duncan, who served as a foreign minister and aid minister before stepping down as an MP in 2019, named Tom Tugendhat, the security minister, and peer and former Cameron minister Eric Pickles among those who should be kicked out. Duncan accused Pickles and another Tory peer, Stuart Polark, of exercising the interests of another country by lobbying for Israel through the Conservative Friends of Israel, the CFI group. In a later interview with Times Radio, Duncan said other Tory MPs and ministers included Michael Gove, Oliver Dowden, Suella Braverman, Robert Jenrick and Priti Patel were also extremists for not condemning illegal Israeli settlements on Palestinian land. He called for Braverman, the former Home Secretary, who argued this week that Israel was not impeding aid getting into Gaza, to lose the Tory whip. Some people in UK politics refuse to condemn settlements and therefore are not supporters of international law, Duncan said. "I think the time has come to flush out these extremists in our parliamentary politics and around it." Lord Mann, the government's independent advisor on anti-Semitism, said Sir Allan's comments were absurdly anti-Semitic. It is almost as if Allan Duncan is trying to get himself expelled from the Conservative Party. He's digging deeper. His comments brought condemnations from the Jewish Leadership Council and the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, which both accused Sir Allan of using anti-Semitic tropes. Is it really surprising to hear claims that certain members of the Conservative government may be prioritising the interests of Israel over those of the UK? This has been a long-standing allegation, with groups like the Conservative Friends of Israel, the CFI, and the Labour Friends of Israel, the LFI, being cited as potential influencers in both parties. Earlier this month, as the death toll in Gaza climbed to over 22,000, the CFI paid for 6 MPs to travel to Israel on a special solidarity visit. Those MPs were Stephen Crabb, Michael Ellis, Robert Jenrick, Nicola Richards, Greg Smith and Theresa Vellers. In January 2024, the LFI, the Labour Friends of Israel, led a solidarity mission to Israel which was attended by Labour MPs Christian Wakeford and Margaret Hodge, its spokesperson in the House of Lords Ruth Anderson, formerly Smith, and former MP Louise Ellman. These visits were taken when over 20,000 Palestinians had already been killed by the Israeli forces. Something ain't right, and the more I delve into it, it seems that Sir Allan Duncan has a point. Many MPs on both sides of the House are funded by the Israel lobby. 41 of Labour's 197 MPs have accepted money from the Israel lobby. And at least 9 UK Conservative MPs have accepted donations from pro-Israel lobby since the beginning of Israel's genocidal war on Gaza. It can be argued that Israel owes influence over both the Conservative government and the Labour opposition. However, there is a concerning trend where any dissenting views are labelled as anti-Semitic. This misuse of the term by the media and politicians is highly concerning and should not be tolerated. How does any criticism of the Israeli Defence Forces action in Gaza automatically make you anti-Semitic? This is a baseless and harmful accusation that needs to be addressed. While it is important to call out any form of racism, including anti-Semitism, it should not be used as a means to deflect from valid criticisms of the Israeli government's actions in Gaza. Every individual has a right to express their opinions and voice their concerns without being unfairly labelled as anti-Semitic. They've turned the term anti-Semitic into a meaningless slogan that people are beginning to take pride in because it has redefined into criticism of Israel's illegal policies and practices. I have to say, I agree with Sir Allan's viewpoint that there are indeed extremists within the Conservative government. For quite some time, Suella Braverman has been known for her extreme rhetoric. During an interview on LBC this week, Suella Braverman expressed her stance on UK's relationship with Israel. She emphasised the importance of standing with Israel and condemned the reported death toll of 32,000, attributing it to Hamas and questioning its reliability. Braverman also stated her belief in continuing to sell arms to Israel. These statements, if not considered extreme, raise concern. Fellow government members Tom Tugendhat, Priti Patel and Robert Jenrick, and Lee Anderson before his defection to the Reform Party have made statements that can be described as extreme. It is concerning to see Prime Minister Rishi Sunak label pro-Palestine protesters as extremists, while former Conservative MP Allan Duncan has called for the removal of extremist members from the party. That's a definite case of pot calling the kettle black, I'm telling you. And I'll end with this. The drone strike by the Israel Defence Forces on a humanitarian convoy that resulted in the tragic death of 7 aid workers has sparked strong reactions from the Western governments and media outlets. However, their response may raise questions about their true intentions. Despite the ongoing investigation by Israel, these entities have quickly condemned the incident and demanded an immediate ceasefire. This reaction stands in stark contrast to the lack of outrage over the 35,000 deaths and 100,000 injuries of Palestinians in the conflict. Some commentators who previously supported Israel's right to defend itself have also condemned this drone strike. It begs the question, is the attention and condemnation because the victims were white European? I'm just asking. This raises concerns about the true motives behind the Western response. After Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's initial response to the killing of the 7 humanitarian aid workers, he has once again adopted a tough stance by declaring that the sale of arms to Israel will continue. He even went as far as saying that Israel has not violated any international laws. And I have to ask him, what's he smoking, man? That's some strong shit. Thanks for watching. Share, comment, like and subscribe. Out of here.